Hello and welcome to the Beef Brief Podcast, the podcast brought to you by Agriland, where we discuss all matters relevant to the beef industry. In this episode, Agriland caught up with Scottish-based suckler farmer Duncan Morrison, who told us all about his 260 cow suckler herd based in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. Yeah, so we're here obviously at the Ag Research Conference today in Portadown, and can you even just start off by introducing yourself, where you're from, and I suppose why you're over here today?
Aye, so I'm Duncan Morrison. I farm in Aberdeenshire in northeast Scotland. So I'm over here and just doing a talk on how we use genetics to improve profitability on farm.
And Duncan, can you tell us a little bit about your background story? Now, I know you outlined it at the conference today, but I suppose tell us how you found yourself in a position to set up your own farming business, and how you got to where you are today, and of course where you are today numbers wise and performance wise.
Okay, so I was brought up on a family farm at home, and it was a pretty small unit, and I went off and did my own thing, and I had a career as a farm manager. But I got made redundant and decided to start off on my own, and just took the plunge and bought a load of cows, and maybe hit it lucky here and there with certain things, but we've built things up over a number of years, probably 10 years now, and it had to be done pretty cheaply because we just didn't have the money. And
so did you build on your existing farm at home, or did you go out and lease your own farm, Duncan?
Yeah, I went out on my own and leased my own farm for a start, but because the family farm at home, which is owned, it was a partnership between my father and my uncle, and my father actually passed away about over 10 years ago now. So I came into that piece of land afterwards, but I now farm the home farm and the other blocks that we've built up since. But
and when you were initially getting into your building your own stock numbers, Duncan, I suppose firstly, even what age were you when you were doing that, and how did you go about it? What did you buy? Were you buying the best heifers? What kind of stock were you buying?
So when I started a business, I was 25. What actually happened was the farm that made me redundant, they were actually dispersing their cows, so the cows were for sale, and I thought, well, I knew the cows to an extent because I worked there, and I thought, let's just go for it. So it worked out quite nicely, but we bought mixed age cows, and that got the ball rolling, but we ended up buying 2 or 3 extra batches on top of that, and then we started a leasing arrangement with another guy that I used to work for, which doubled our numbers again. So there's been a few different things that have added on to it, but we just made a start, and that got us going.
And there was another interesting thing that you said about I suppose getting access to finance from from the livestock markets. Is that a common thing in Scotland? Is it more unusual, or how does that work?
I think it's quite common in Scotland. Most of the livestock markets and the companies will have some kind of finance schemes where they'll help young farmers out. You'll pay a small deposit, and then you have to pay them over a couple of years, and it gets you going. But I think there'll be various different options. But it's quite common, and to be honest, it helps us, but it also helps them, because in 2016, when I started the business, there was 1,000 cows leaving our area, and so that starts to hit the auction marts. So it's in their interest to help young people get back into the business. So it works for both parties, I think.
So I suppose in Ireland here, we say both north and south, the conventional suckler farm, we tend to see a lot of these continental breeds. People are really chasing the carcass weight and the muscling. Tell us what you went for on your farm with your cow type, and why you went for that certain type of cow.
So we're predominantly Angus and Stabiliser, pretty low cost, low input. The reason we went for that type is, first and foremost, it suits the type of farm that we've got. So one of our main assets is that we're quite a dry type farm, so it suits itself to outwintering. So a lot of these continental types don't suit that job. So that's one thing. But also having built up the way we have, there just wasn't a heap of money out there. So we needed something that could look after itself, really. So they tick the box, or quite a few boxes actually.
And I suppose with your Angus and Stabiliser herds, Duncan, would you catch you out in the middle of the night with the calving jack assisting a cow giving birth?
Well, never say never. I mean, it does happen. I'm not going to sit here and say everything's perfect, but I definitely try not to. We'll only help a few percent each year. And yeah, if I have got to help a calf, I'm pretty annoyed for the rest of the day.
So how does your outwintering system or your overwintering system look on your farm for your cows?
So it's adapted a little bit over the last few years. We've trialed various things, but we've kind of settled on a system where we combine strip grazing kale and using deferred grass. So we'll shut off the deferred grass probably over the few months between June, July and August, depending on the time that we cut silage. And we'll lay bales of hay and silage in those fields and come back and graze them November, December, January, February, and lead up to calving time. And I've found that it's much cleaner. We don't get the same poach and mess than we do with forage crops. And also we've got lots of deer where we are, so deer can really damage forage crops if they get in. But we do still use forage crops for in-calf heifers and some young stock as well. And it's also quite useful for the snow because we get a lot of snow and deferred grass just gets covered like a blanket. So things like kale and turnips can be, the stock find it easier to eat it through the snow.
And then I suppose in the lead up to calving, are you going in with minerals, boluses? How does your pre-calving pack, nutrition pack look for your herd?
So our area is quite mineral deficient. So what we do, we bolus everything in November, and that covers them right away through to through calving and just nearly at bulling time. So we also get mineral access through the summer with mineral blocks. But we found we used to use powder minerals, but found it quite hard and variable when you're feeding them outside. There's lots of wastage and there's wind and there's rain. Whereas if you bolus them, you know that they've got what they've got. And we noticed an improvement on things like prolapses and stillbirths once we moved to boluses.
And I suppose when you're looking for somewhere for your cows to calve, say they are calving outdoors, do you look for shelter? Do you look for, a dry area? Or what do you look for, in a good suitable field to calve down your cows?
So you've probably ticked them all. Really, you need something dry, shelter, and close to the farm so that you can observe them quite easily and bring in any problems or whatever. But I suppose as years have gone on, we've probably got a little bit more confident with it and used to just calve right in front of the house, and that was fine. But you couldn't go back there every year, so we've gone a little bit further away. But basically, you do need the shelter because we calve in April, but we'll still get snow in April if you get a bad spring. So you do need to cover your bases a little bit.
And why stabilisers, Duncan? I suppose why not all Angus, or why the mix?
So the stabilisers came about through the herd that we started to lease through the guy that I used to work for, and so they were all an all stabiliser herd, and that's sort of how we came in. We're probably focusing more on Anguses now going forward, but the stabilisers have ticked all the boxes for us as well. They do all the same things an Angus does. So.
And then I suppose your cow type, are you looking for a big cow, or tell us what you're looking for, in your ideal suckler or your breeding cow?
So because the system is the way that it is and the type of land that we have, we're generally looking for a medium-sized cow. I think you can go too small as well, and you will land with a calf that's maybe not all that valuable. On the other side of the coin, you've got a cow that's very expensive to keep, and she maybe doesn't perform pound for pound the same as a smaller cow. So we're looking for something in the middle. We're around about 650 kilos at the moment across the herd, so somewhere in around that range, 650 to 700 kilos. That suits us quite well.
Age of first calving?
Everything calves at 2 years old.
Any issues achieving that?
Not really, no. I think we've probably learned a little bit over the last few years how to manage them better to calve at 2. Because if you do neglect them, it does, come back to bite you later on. But yeah, once we make a better job of that, it's a dream. It's no problem at all.
And are you going in with, I suppose, supplementary? Are you going in with concentrate feeding, or tell us how the diet looks like in your livestock?
We don't grow any arable crops, so any constant feeds that we would feed that need to be bought in. So we try and keep that to a minimum if we can. So generally speaking, all breeding stock, cows, heifers, bulls, don't receive any concentrates at all. We'll feed concentrates to growing stock, store cattle, a little bit to the we breed pedigree bulls as well, a little bit to them, but we're very much a concentrate-based system, forage-based system.
Forage-based, yeah.
Get it right, and finishing stock will get as much as they need at the time. But the type of cattle that we've got as well, we find that they're not very hard to finish on grass, so you never need to push them hard to get the finish on.
And then your finished animal, I suppose, what does it look like, carcass weight and grade, and age of slaughter maybe?
Yeah, so usually we've done stabiliser bulls, we do that, and depending on the system, we've done intensive barley fed. Obviously, they're from 12, 13 months old to 350 kilos, round about there. We've also done bulls at grass at 60 months old, and that worked quite well when concentrates were very expensive a few years ago. They'd have been lighter, around about a 330 kilo carcass, an R3 roughly. But we're moving a bit more towards steers now, and we'll finish heifers as well. They'll usually be starting to be killed from 18 to 19 months. So that'll be October, November time. And heifers would be, give or take, 300 kilos. Some of the lighter ones might be 280, 290, with the heavier ones to 330. The steers would be probably 300 to 350. And yeah, we're hoping for an R4L.
Yeah. And then I suppose, how does your herd look like, I suppose, with acreage and then stock numbers as well?
This year we'll bull around 260 cows and heifers. We took on a new farm last year, so we'll probably be moving towards 300 in the next year or two. We'll then be limited by staff and things like that at that point. But if we can keep them easy kept and all that, then adding a few extra numbers won't make any difference. So,
and I suppose you mentioned another interesting point there, in that, a lot of farmers, be it in Ireland, be it in the UK, are finding issues, getting people out to physically calve the cows.
Yeah, that's the problem with everyone in this industry at the time. It's a double-edged sword between having a system that's easy and you don't need staff, that also I think is easier for staff to work in. I've been there myself, working for other people, where you're calving cows every hour of the night, and it takes its toll on you. So I think in terms of getting staff, it's much easier to get them if you've got an easier system, and you also don't need as much of them if you've got an easier system. So I think it can help you in both ways.
Yeah. And then stocking rates, just acreage, we didn't just touch on that there, did we?
Yeah, so there's 770 acres, and there's 260 sucklers. We'll probably finish probably about a third of that. Another third will self-store. We grow all our own silage. We only buy in straw and a little bit of concentrates here and there.
How many cattle go into a shed for the winter?
Probably 200 maybe 150, 200. But we're probably understocked because that 770 acres includes an extra piece we took on last summer, so we haven't fully grown into it yet. But yeah, there's scope to increase. But
And what are the KPIs, I suppose, of your suckler herd? What do you look at the figures, to say I'm doing well or I need to do better here?
So probably twice a year, I've got a spreadsheet on my computer that I update. And so post calving, usually around about June, once everything's done, I'll look at calving assists. I'll look at average birth weights. I'll look at mortality. And in the autumn, November, December time, once we've had everything pregnancy tested, I'll look at obviously in-calf rates. We'll look at weaning weights. We'll look at body condition scores of the cows, frame scores, work out which cows are performing and which ones aren't. And we'll also look at fertility further back in spring, where we'll look at how many calved in the first cycle, which is a pretty good indicator of how good a condition they are, how quick they're returning back to the bull. So,
do you like to have a block calving system, or are you calving all year round?
yeah, we're very much a block calving system. The bulls are only out for 2 cycles. We used to be 10 weeks, and we've just gradually brought that down. So we've been 6 to 7 weeks for 4 or 5 years now, and we've just all the KPIs just tend to just ramp up and get better and better every year. Now they've sort of leveled off. Now that it's a settled system, so it works quite well. We've not got a huge amount of labour, so it's focused. We get all the calves in one go, and we can all take a day off once it's done.
Yeah, and then I suppose culling your cows. What are the the key things that you cull your cows based on?
So during the talk, I sort of referenced a thing that I would call the lathe. So it's just trying to adapt and smooth out any rough edges on your herd, take out things that add time and money. So you've got various things such as lameness. We don't food trim. We tend to cull out the cows if they've got bad feet. Bad teats, bad udders, they'll go, because if you've got a bad teat or a bad udder, you're going to land with mastitis, or you're going to land with a calf that can't suckle on its own, which takes time. You've got bad temperament, so that speaks for itself. You've got obviously fertility. Anything that's empty will also go. There's a long list of things that could cause it, but we're just trying to eliminate problems, and when you've eliminated most of the problems, it's a far easier job.
And how do you manage weaning that number of calves every year? Do you do a gradual weaning? Do you use quiet weans?
We use quiet weans. So what we do usually, we'll start weaning maybe some of the first calved heifers in October. So we'll try and get them done out the road first, and we use quiet weans. They're in for a week. Raw paddock grazed, and what we'll do is I don't creep feed concentrates, but I've got a bale and winder behind the tractor, so I'll start supplementing with silage to try and get the calves just acclimatized to the silage that they'll be eating when they come inside the house. So we'll start that, and we'll just do I bought loads and loads of quiet weans, so we'll try and do 2 or 3 batches a week, a bulling group at a time. So over the course of 3 weeks or so, we'll get them all weaned, but it is a little bit protracted. It takes a bit of time, but I wouldn't want to go backwards now.
And finally, Duncan, just I suppose any advice to young people there who are trying to maybe set up a suckler operation or a cow-calf operation?
Well, I think it's a good time to be involved in the job. I think there's hardly a better job to be in, to be honest, at this point in time. So I would just say go for it. It can be done, because I remember a lot of people told me it couldn't be done, and it can be, but you need to be good at it, because although there's money in it, there's a lot of cost as well. So if you're not paying attention, you can land no better off. So you need to pay attention to your costs. Hit all your KPIs, do the job right, and you'll make money.
Well, Duncan, thank you very much for joining us on the Agriland Beef Brief podcast today.
Cheers, thanks very much.
So that's all we have time for on this week's episode. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to rate it 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. That's all from us for this week, folks. Thanks for listening in.